What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video, and today we're going to talk about esports boxing club. It's something that I've got on my mind, something I want to hear your guys' opinions on. Now, if you guys have any opinions on this whatsoever, make sure you drop a comment down below and let me know your thoughts on how this should go down. And what we're talking about today is how fighters should get up. Now, should it be stat based or whatever? We're going to be talking about how I think it should go and previous ways that we have gotten up in fighting games, or in boxing games, should I say. So obviously there's multiple ways you could do it. You could do based on stats, you could do button bashing, you could even do stick bashing, then you could do various ways like they have done in Fight Night 2004 all the way to Fight Night Champion. Obviously they did change, I believe, from round, I think 2004 was different, then round 3 was different, and round 4 and Champion were the same. Now in Fight Night 2004, you had to use both sticks to connect what was like an EA symbol, I believe, off the top of my head. I probably put some gameplay up from previous streams that I've done with playing the game. Then round 2, I don't actually know too well. Round 3, you had to get both sticks into the center where the number was appearing. Then in round 4, you had to use the stick to obviously get yourself up, and then push the right stick to push yourself up, and Champion was the same. Now for me personally, round 4 in Champions method is just simpler. If we're going to do mini games of such, that just makes sense. However, we can't talk about mini games too much, whether or not that counts as a mini game or not. Obviously, you know, corner has mini games where you would heal up the fighter's face, and where you would in round 4 you would obviously have the one where you would improve your health or your damage or your stamina with certain points you've earned through that fight. Then in Champion it was just like continue and carry on. Now, in one of the alpha gameplay videos, Ash actually said this.
So we've done away with minigames in ESBC. This corner scene is still very early in terms of what's going to be shown.
Now, he said, we've completely gone away with minigames in eSports boxing club. Now, does that mean, do we count the get up as a minigame? For me personally, yes, I count that as a minigame because it's a game inside of a game. You're doing something else other than fighting. So I would imagine that esports, for example, would be all stat based. Now that is a big assumption. They could mean we've awayed from mini games from the corner, as it then a few moments later cuts to the corner. But my assumption was they've got away from mini games completely. As he didn't specify we've gone away from mini games in the corner, he just said we've gone away from mini games in esports boxing club. Now I would assume that means all mini games from the corner to the get-ups. Now I could be wrong. Now obviously if you do it based on stats, you do run the risk of a little bit of RNG, because sometimes, for example, Gabriel Rosado's last fight, he fought a 7-0 prospect and was losing the fight. He was dropped in the first, then finished the fight with 1 knockout, 1 overhand, 1 punch, out cold. Now for me personally, someone that wants real simulation, if I'm winning 10 rounds and you're playing as Joe Frazier and I'm battering you from pillar to post for 10 rounds and I miss a shot and I leave myself open and you drop me with a good power shot to the chin and I'm out cold, I won't be upset with that. I'll be like, you know, I'll obviously be like gutted, but it's one of those things that not only makes for great fights, it keeps you on your toes at all times, and it makes for great content. It's really something that's genuinely super interesting. We also saw it in the Dillian White and Alexander Povetkin fight, their first one. White dropped him 3 times to then get completely knocked out stone cold with 1 uppercut. So I wouldn't mind, you know, 1 punch complete out cold being possible. But obviously I don't want it to become a regular occurrence where it happens all the time and day in, day out. I don't mind flash drops, they don't bother me, but I don't want constantly like every, like, you know, 45% of your fights you get knocked out with 1 punch. I don't really want that. But then when it comes to stats, do we have fighters like Canelo who's never been dropped, for example? Do we just have him at like 99 get up? Or how would you score? How would you rate that? Because he's not been dropped. So how would you score someone that's not been dropped in the stats, if you guys get what I mean? Now for me, I would go on it depends on what shot drops you. Sometimes you'll see a body shot tends to just completely ruin people more than a headshot. I mean, we saw Ryan Garcia and Luke Campbell. Luke Campbell got hit with a clean body shot and he just couldn't get up. Had that hook caught him in the chin, he might have got up. He might have just been like, that's fine, that's okay. But that body shot just seizes you up and just completely feels like it shuts your body down. And we saw in Gervonta Davis's last fight a good body shot uppercut. You know, Barrios, I think his name was struggling, but he got up from that shot. But that was a good uppercut straight to the solar plex. It was perfect. Obviously, it depends on what shot drops you. If you get dropped with a 1-2 and you just the 2 is down the pipe and you just get put on your ass, of course you're going to get up. But You know, is it going to be like, because one thing I don't want is I don't want it to be like 3 knockdowns and you win kind of thing. I don't want it to be like, okay, the third knockdown, you have a 4% chance of your fighter getting up, because that's then just, no one's going to then say, okay, I'm going to go for the finish. They're just going to go for 3 knockdowns regardless of the method they come by, and I don't want that. I have no issue with some fighters getting up 6 or 7 times, whereas some fighters only being able to get up once. I think it does depend on the fighter and their overall toughness, their grit, their heart, their chin, their body. All them stats I think will go into this. And while I don't think it should be RNG based, I think there should be a little bit of a rolling the dice depending on the shot that lands, depending on how the fight has been going. It's hard because I'm sure there'll be some people that say, well, if I'm battering you and I get dropped, I want to be able to get back up. But unfortunately, sometimes in boxing, that doesn't happen. Sometimes you can be losing a fight and you can still get the knockout victory. I mean, we see it a lot with Deontay Wilder. We saw it with, you know, people have said in the Canelo Sergio Kovalev fight, the Canelo was down, but he took his time and he got, you know, one clean straight to the chin and it was over. Kovalev wasn't, he was slumped over the ropes, he was not moving. Now I want to hear your guys' thoughts. Obviously, I think it depends on the fighter in real life. If you've got fighters who are real tough motherfuckers that will just keep getting up and up and up and up and are known for wars, then yes, obviously they will be able to sustain more damage. But I don't want to say Arturo Gatti, for example, who has been in many wars and is a great fighter, or was a great fighter. I don't want it to be like, okay, I have to at least drop him twice before anything happens. If I catch him with a good shot, if he's coming in at me, if he goes for a big overhand and I slip the overhand and get him with an uppercut and completely snap his head to the side, I want to know that there's a chance that I can put him down with that one knockdown, and him not get back up. I don't want to just go, oh, this guy's Canelo, so I've got to at least drop him 5 times. This guy's Sugar Ray Robinson, I've got to at least drop him twice. You know, I don't want that. I want to be like, okay, all right, fair enough, you know, he's whoever. I have to obviously be aware that he does have a tough chin. Tyson Fury, for example, has been dropped, always gets up. But I still want that availability to be able to KO him cold as fuck in the first few rounds if I'm able to. Obviously, I'm not going to be going into this game and just throwing my handbags at everyone. You know, there will be a lot of technical fight, and I can imagine most knockouts will be in the later half of the round in most high-level / mid-level fights, because obviously people are going to be a bit more technical. They're going to have a feeling out process. Obviously, you've got really heavy pressure fighters that will probably want to drop people in the early fights. But if you're more defensive, you can guard up anyways, and then you can drop the pressure fighters later in the round. But yeah, I just thought this was really interesting, you know, because there's also been so many ways that fighting have done it. Obviously, UFC doesn't have that because there is no knockdown counter. You just flick the stick to get back up. But it would be interesting to see how it gets played out, obviously, because you don't want it to be like, you know, like a pre-scripted amount of knockdowns per fight. You don't want it to be like 4 knockdowns is definitely a win, 3 knockdowns you're about 90% chance of winning. I don't want that. I'm okay if I'm online and I drop someone 7 times and I still have to go to decision with them. I'm okay with that. I have no issue with it. I'm not going into this game with the expectation or the want, for that matter, to knock everybody out in the first 2 or 3 rounds. But it'd be interesting to see what they do. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm hoping in the next gameplay video they show fighters getting up. I think that'd be quite interesting, and how it's done. But we'll have to wait and see. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I'll be really interested to see what you guys think. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I've had this written down for a little while. Since the start of September, I've had this video idea written down, and I was just like, fuck it, you know, finally get a chance to record it. But you know, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.